Hello folks, how are we all? I'm good, thank you. Taking it easy. Here you are, watching this video, exercising your capacity to navigate your way through life. Yet, it hasn't always been like this though. There was a time when the state could do you in for thinking astray, a king or queen could levy taxes on your very soul, and the balance of power between you and the state was, well, pretty imbalanced. But this changed progressively. And as such, we're going to cover 5 documents which facilitated this change. So without further ado, let's crack on. Coming in first, we have the good old Magna Carta Libertatum, better known simply as the Magna Carta, which literally translates to the Great Charter of Freedoms. Pretty freedom inspiring, eh? The document originated during the First Barons' War and basically questioned the notion of rule which came from the principle of vis voluntas, force and will of the king. The Magna Carta made sure people had access to fair trial and served as one of the first locks and balances on the monarch. Hypothetically, the king couldn't just dink you out if he felt like it. This is kind of a big deal when the monarch was seen as the voice of God on earth. Next up, we have the Declaration of Independence. Come on, you knew this was coming. Taking inspiration from the Magna Carta itself, the Declaration of Independence was a reinstatement of an Englishman's rights for American colonists. I mean, credit given where credit is due. You Americans were being taxed without representation. You deserve to revolt, and what better way to do so than by stating that all your citizens have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration of Independence literally endowed citizens with individual responsibility in a world dominated by monarch. A pretty big jump, and just remember, it didn't give Americans the right to happiness, just the right to pursue it. That responsibility is on you, Chief. Coming from the American Revolution's sister revolution, the French Revolution, we have the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen. How easy is it to say that? Not very. Drawing on Enlightenment 4, this declaration's first article, Article 1, stated that men are born and remain free and in equal rights. Social distinctions can be founded only on the common good. This is almost a legitimizer of hierarchy where it is benevolent, which, in my eyes, is a hierarchy predicated on competence. This declaration shook the foundations of Europe. For centuries, heads had been dinked out at the whim of a king. Maybe now heads would roll for a different reason. Now, but in all seriousness, in a land of aristocracy, the creeping growth of meritocracy was groundbreaking. Although the British had abolished slavery decades before, it is still the case that slavery as a practice was globally widespread, even in the south of the United States. At the height of the American Civil War, the Emancipation Proclamation changed this, granting slaves throughout the American South freedom. Although it didn't usher in the absolute equality of opportunity that was desirable, it nevertheless marked the journey towards it in the United States, and that's why the Emancipation Proclamation is included in this list. Drawing on influence from the aforementioned, we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Yeah, a shock entry to this list. It doesn't really have the coolest sounding name, but I digress. Let's carry on. It outlawed slavery and it instituted bans on discrimination and torture. Its passage stands in rebuke to the horrors of the Second World War. What's so cool about it is the fact that it applies universally to those nations which have accepted it. However, this does beg the question as to whether it reflects the homogeneity of cultural values. Perhaps that is a topic for another video. Nonetheless, it is hard to argue that it isn't a good thing. It represents sovereign nations interacting on their own volition to bop human tyranny on its head. One thing that I hope you've noticed is that each of these passages was influenced by a prior passage. In a sense, the tree of liberty has grown over time and has now branched out to substantiate the freedoms we love dearly. The metaphor about liberty being a tree though, snazzy though it is, might not be so metaphorical after all. If you've got any thoughts on the organic nature of liberty, as the everyday man and woman should and does have, then do leave a comment. And that's just about it for me folks, so do me a favour, slap a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment with your thoughts, and if you're feeling good and happy and splendid enough, just drop me a sub. I'll see you in the next video. You'll find something else to watch, or just watch this video. I know we had a lot of fun.